Hello there guys and welcome back to the channel. So today a bit more inquisitive video in a sense, because I do want to ask your guys' opinions on what exactly is going on at the moment with Battlegrounds more specifically, because there is a very sharp drastic drop off in the amount of people in the Gladiator circuit now already, like in the second week of the season. There are obvious things that we can point to that I think are not necessarily entirely responsible for the drop-off, but I do think that there's a bit more going on as well. Either way, let's just go over the points, because at the moment when we look at Gladiator circuit, so there is 100 people in Celestial 5 and above, there's 100 people in Celestial 6, I believe, and then we can take a look at Mysterium 1. I don't know what happened there. Then we can take a look at Mysterium 1, and we're gonna find that Mysterium 1 is not even filled fully. So there's only 332 people in Gladiator circuit right now, which is a really drastic contrast to the previous season, because previous season that was one of the biggest kind of like comments on how many more points you needed to place higher, and how, how far down the rankings you were opposed to where you were normally. And yeah, having 332 people in Gladiator circuit 10 days after the Battlegrounds have started is really odd. I think that's the lowest number I have registered myself thus far. I think season 10, 9 was the good one. 8 or 7 was very slow, but it was nowhere near as slow as this. Even in the slowest season that I recall, at around the same time period, we had, I think, at the very least, Mysterium 3 filled in. So obviously, people will point immediately to that there is a ton of things happening in the game right now. In reality, that only really counts for the last 2 days, right? Hasn't been that much happening since the Battleground season started. Yes, the brutal DLX challenge, the arenas, all that stuff started on Wednesday night, where a lot of people immediately obviously jumped on it, and I get it. That definitely does have some impact, but what I will say that only would have had a relatively minor impact compared to the entire duration of the current season, because that's only last 2 days. And before that, we had like our incursion side event, but that side event, we get side events every month. And there was nothing that special happening. Now, another thing that obviously I think needs to be talked about in this case is the reduction of the rewards. Because previous season, we had improved milestone rewards for Battlegrounds, and we had to put up more points, so that obviously in itself sparked more participation. But these milestone rewards also looked extremely appealing, opposed to now that they have went just back to some 6-star shots. And honestly, the entire concept of earning points and these just 6-star shots being the 6-star shots don't amount for much these days, especially for kind of like the more capable, sweaty tryhards. And obviously there's alliance milestones and all that other stuff. But I personally believe that this is by far the biggest contributor in the drop-off in players' participation in Battlegrounds. And even though, like, my brain perfectly understands that, Kabam said up front that is going to be like a one-off type of thing as a compensation for not having Alliance War Season and all that stuff. But I think people in general, in any kind of aspects of life, don't want to move backwards. Like in a situation like if you get a raise at your job and if you start earning like, I don't know, 70,000 pounds a month, pounds a year, then you're not gonna be willing to go back to a job that will offer you 50 or 40,000 pounds. You're always gonna be looking to maintain or improve. And if you do have to, unfortunately end up taking some cutbacks, then you're not going to be enthusiastic about it. And I think that this is one of those situations where even if it's somewhat subconscious, people are just not as excited about Battlegrounds right now due to the fact that they kind of had to move backwards. And I think that obviously in combination with the fact that now there is a ton of stuff happening definitely does hurt overall Battlegrounds participation. Additionally, I do think that there are individual, obviously, personal experience. I do think that quite a lot of people are just waiting for the meta change because they're kind of like unwilling or don't want to commit to learning this new meta with the evade because it's quite tricky and it is very hard. And I think quite a few people just kind of want to stay away from it, so they have decided to take it slow. I also think that the new matchmaking encourages people taking more of their time before they enter Gladiator circuit. And therefore, as I said at the beginning of the video, I think that currently there is a combination of circumstances that adds up to like a massive difference in the participation. The last thing that I have not yet talked about is Victory Track itself. Victory Track itself has gotten a lot longer now, because now we have the 4 diamond tiers, and those are the longest ones, and those are the hardest ones. And now we also have 3 vibranium tiers, where you had to get a lot of medals in order to get through. And this is yet again one of those things where I'm not like mad at Kabam for changing it or adding these things, because they kind of make sense if Kabam is going to be doing the whole seeding thing. And ultimately, the one thing that people did not really talk about is that this increase in the victory track durations also works as a rewards buff, because you end up earning more rewards now because there are more levels of victory track to go through. And starting this and all the other seasons, especially when you start seeded, you're just gonna end up getting more rewards. So this is like a minor rewards update, bump, tweak type of situation. But it still makes it longer. So unless you're making like a dedicated effort, there is a good chance that many people who haven't altered their, time allotment to Battlegrounds, let's say play Battlegrounds 1 hour a day or something like that, simply haven't yet naturally or kind of organically made their way in the Gladiator circuit purely because victory track is longer. So I do want to hear what are your guys' opinions about it, and more specifically in which one of these categories you personally fit in. Because statistically, again, if there's only 330 people in Gladiator circuit, that means that vast majority of the people watching at this point will not have entered the Gladiator circuit. So I would genuinely like to know which one, or a mixture of the things that I described, is basically responsible for people slowing down Battlegrounds. Whether you're just tired of Battlegrounds, whether it's because too much happening in the game, whether it's because the victory track is longer and you're playing like normal and you just haven't made it there yet, or whether it's because you don't want to play the Gladiator circuit meta, or you're just not too invested in Battlegrounds right now due to the return back to the regular reward structure. Which one of those things is it? Because I do find these differentiations quite important, because ultimately feedback like that can help us understand these game modes and player motivations better, and obviously it can help Kabam to adjust and make these Battlegrounds game mode more appealing to more players. Because I'm not even gonna hide here, I am personally obviously thinking of Battlegrounds as the core of MCOC, or as the best part of MCOC, at the very least for me. Therefore, I would love for nothing else than for as many people get into Battlegrounds and play them actively as possible, because that would just mean that, more competition, more people, more fun, more changing leaderboards, more different opponents, and all that other good stuff. So, like, from my personal perspective, yes, I am obviously interested in Battlegrounds being as popular as it can be. And that is exactly why I would like to hear your feedback. See you soon, guys. Bye. Hello there, guys, and welcome back to the channel. So we have all the information about